Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Midweek. We took a few weeks off, but we are glad you rejoined us. So let me wish you a happy new year. Can you believe it's 2025? I remember when the world was going to end at Y2K. And probably some of you go back and you remember the 88 reasons why Jesus was going to come back in 1988. Well, be assured, I am absolutely convinced he's coming back, but somehow we woke up and it's 2025. So welcome. Happy New Year. I've been thinking about something recently. Just want to start the year off with memory. I know it's something that we presume upon every day, but do you realize what would not happen if we did not have memory? You wouldn't have any marriages, would you? Because you'd walk home every day and realize, like, I don't know this person. We wouldn't be able to have business. We wouldn't be able to have any kind of relationships because relationships all presume upon memory. The other thought I had, and bear with me, is I don't know why I thought the year this way in terms of kind of reflective, we wouldn't have worship. I was thinking of one of my favorite songs. Great is thy faithfulness, O God my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Great is thy faithfulness. It goes on and on. You know what that song presumes? Memory. Because if I don't remember his faithfulness, I don't praise him. Go back now sometime and do this. I did this, and go back and look at all the Psalms of praise. They all have a recall. Kind of a section where they, God, you took us out of Egypt. God, you delivered us. And David, he's talking about all the ways that God spared him. We wouldn't be able to worship God. We wouldn't even be able to know God without memory. Why is memory? Well, memory is something that I've been watching. Some folks, even very personally in our family, extended family, when my mom began to walk down that path. And you realize that when memory goes, short-term memory, long-term memory, there's so much that you begin to lose. And so I was just thankful to God for this gift to us. So I went back and remembered, because memory is the basis of worship. It is actually the mechanism that makes relationships even possible. So I went back and kind of looked at the year. And so take a journey with me. I began, not in January, I actually kind of worked my way back the other way. I began in December and realized, God, how faithful you were to us. As a church, our largest giving month we've ever had in our history. It's incredible, the giving that has come into our church and the faithfulness of our people. And I just realized it's just this kind of literally a waterfall of God's faithfulness to us. I went back and I began to trace different people, missionaries that we had in our church and also other organizations that we partner with around the world. And I realized we touched through our church dozens of different countries where people came to Christ, churches were planted. I got to witness the expansion of God's work in Japan personally. I got to hear about how God has done a great work in Vietnam. I heard about how God's doing this marvelous work in Southern Africa and Northern Africa. And I thought, wow, God, you've given us this vision to be a church for the city that reaches the world for Christ. And I thought, God, thank you. You're allowing us to do that. I began to take my way back through and I started looking at various events from H2O to Skills Camp to whether I look at it now or even in the past upward. And I thought, oh God, what an incredible staff. I was sitting with one of them the other day and one of them said, you know, I'm in my 10th year. And I'm like, wow, 10 years. In the career world out there, wherever you're serving, 10 years is an eternity. And then another one just this week, you know, I've been here 15 years. And then another one, I've been here 20 some years. Man, friends, don't miss the beauty of a team of people that would love you and serve you 10, 15, 20 plus years. And I thought, God, how faithful. Because longevity, faithfulness, loyalty, those are not things I take for granted. Those are things I say, God, thank you. Thank you for a staff that just endures and perseveres with delight and gratitude. I could go on forever on this staff. I thank God for them. I went back and looked at some of the new ministries, and there's a spirit of, I call it the Berean spirit, that verify the truth, that look into the truth and own the truth well, that God has raised up in our church, and some apologetic ministry. But it's broader than just this. It's people that are really wanting, not in a harsh, limiting, brittle way, but in a delightful way, pursuing the truth. And then there's other things in legal aid, and I thought, God, what a good year. You expanded the footprint of our ministry in ways that are exciting. And then as I was making my way through, this is going to sound like I'm reaching for things, but it's not. I went back and kind of noted all the weddings. Now, why would I give thanks to that? Because if you look at virtually any study, weddings in Europe started like this years ago, but now in America. In other words, people are seeing weddings and marriage as something passé, something archaic, something that is of a different generation. And so when I look at people in our church that are getting married, and I thought, wow, let's not presume upon that. And frankly, let's not take that for granted. I thank God for that. But on the other end of marriage, it's not so much on the other end, but a different way. I also went back and noted the different people that lost spouses or family members. And what captured my mind is the beauty of the church that has the capacity to celebrate a wedding, but also to journey in grief. Wasn't all that long ago, I came to church. I was greeting people prior, and I witnessed someone in our church that had lost their spouse. They weren't sitting alone. They had a friend sitting with them. In fact, I'm not sure who grabbed who, but they were sitting, and I realized, I remember this name, you'll know, Chris Luther. She told me a long time ago, she goes, Pastor, when Bob dies, I'm not coming to church anymore. And I said, you're not? Why would you not come to church? She goes, for 60 some years, I think at the point, and I just simply, it will be too painful. I can appreciate that. I would probably not let her get away with it. And I would encourage her. Nope, you got to keep coming to church. But they moved down to San Diego. But I do understand. When you are married for 50 years, 60 years, 40 years, and all of a sudden your spouse dies, that going to church raises up some of the anguish and the disappointment and the sadness and the grief of missing your spouse. So I looked out there and I witnessed someone in our church who understood that. And they made sure their friend sat with them. And they made sure their friend wasn't alone. And I thought to myself, what a great church. Great people. As I made my way through this year, I also remember the celebration of our friend Leon. I miss him. He has a faithfulness to him. I'm thrilled where he's at. But I thought what a great privilege it was for us to celebrate his race that he ran with us. Well, I finished the year and I went through, and I'm probably missing a few things. And if I missed something that you were involved in, please forgive me. But I just celebrated. God, thanks for memory. Thanks for allowing us, because without memory, I wouldn't have any relationships. Without memory, I wouldn't have worship. And so I want to encourage you, maybe you do the same. Go back and look and let your memory, this gift from God, great is thy faithfulness, O God, my Father. There's no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever will be. As thou hast been. You don't know how he's been unless you have this gift called memory. Well, why you still have your memory? Use it and celebrate God. And I hope you get to do exactly what I did, and that is just to go back over the year and say, oh God, I have so much to give you thanks for. Find a reason to exercise your memory. Now let's go to the future. It's back to the future. What do I mean by that? Well, we're going to start a new series this week. It's called Joel, and it's between the altar and the door. I'll explain this week and where that title came from. If you read chapter 2, verse 17, you'll understand. Between the altar and the door is a new series. We're going to start this week in Joel. Joel has this prophetic look way down into the future called the day of the Lord, but he's also going to talk to us about today. How do we live in this day with the hope of grace and restoration, but also justice from a God who loves and leads his people? That's where we're going to be. We'll be there for 4 weeks, then we're going to come out of that to another series. I look forward to it. So come this weekend. We're going to be starting chapter 1 of Joel. I can't wait to be there with you. God bless you. I hope you have a great week this week. And again, Happy New Year 2025. Let's make it a great one.